Good evening, everyone. My name is Vince Ruck, and I'm joined by my colleague, Aaron Oxley. It is our pleasure to present to you Optimizing Your GIS Performance and Security with Geocortex Technology. I'd like to thank our partner, gistec, for allowing us to present this webinar to you. And as we begin the presentation, please allow me to say Ramadan Mubarak to all of you on behalf of myself and my Vertigis colleagues. So a little bit about us. As I mentioned, we were established in 1999, and we're headquartered in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. That's on the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island. We have about 1,600 customers worldwide, and through gistec, we offer off-the-shelf web GIS software, including training, professional services, and technical support. We're an Esri Platinum partner, and we've won awards for our partnership with Esri. Now, many of you may have known us for years as a company called Latitude Geographics, but you'll notice no mention of that in these slides. We're now part of a company called Vertigis that includes 3 other of Esri's 15 platinum partners like AEDC, CAD, and Geocom. These companies are together now to align their technology and add even more value for you. So it's an exciting message. But despite the fact that we're part of a bigger company and we're growing, our core mission, which is to help you accomplish even more with Esri technology, has not changed. All right, at this point, as we begin the presentation, I would like to ask you to go ahead and respond to a poll that we've created. And so you can now see the poll up on your screen. So if you take a few minutes to please answer that, we'd appreciate it. The questions that are part of this poll speak to some of the core values that we're going to show you today. So do you know exactly how much the services and applications your organization provides are used? Do you know which applications are the most used and which the least? And it looks like a majority of you are saying no. So I think we've got some good news for you today. Do you know when a service goes offline? Perhaps I should have said, we should have asked, do you know instantly when a service goes offline? And again, it looks like a number of you, 2/3 of you are saying, no, you don't. Do you have an organization with people using your geospatial information systems who have many different roles? And it looks like the majority of you do. Do you struggle to create the right permissions for your users with respect to what they can see within your GIS estate? Would you even say it is impossible to do so? So still a majority of people that say yes, and a slight minority that say no. So thank you for your valuable answers. I'm going to go ahead and end the polling now. So today's agenda is all about 2 of the Geocortex products, and they are Geocortex Analytics and Geocortex Access Control. I'm going to present a high-level overview of each product, and then Aaron is going to demonstrate it. And then at the end, we'll go ahead and have a question and answer period. As noted prior to the presentation beginning, if you have questions, please use the question and answer area and not the chat so that we can track which of your valuable questions have been answered. Aaron and I will be answering some of the questions while the other one is presenting, unless we decide that the question should be discussed at the end. And as noted, gistec will be making this recording available. All right, so first, let's talk about Geocortex Analytics, which is an application performance monitoring product for Esri customers. It provides a deep understanding of the use patterns and issues surrounding your ArcGIS technology. It helps you to understand how your users are using your applications and your services in order to increase effectiveness, maximize their productivity, and ensure a return on your GIS investment. The image in the upper right shows the user interface, which Aaron will guide you through in detail in a few minutes. So there are really 3 simple value statements about analytics, and these value statements tie in together and they tell you a story. Geocortex Analytics is an application that monitors your Esri GIS enabling you to ensure applications are running at peak performance and notifying you of problems before your users are even aware of them. Not only do you keep your users happy by avoiding problems, you also improve their experience by ensuring the applications they use are optimized to perform quickly, saving them time doing what they need to do. So I think these three statements speak directly to the pain of what many of you may feel when confronted with the task of ensuring your GIS is running smoothly on a daily basis. Geocortex Analytics helps you to understand what is happening at any given moment in your GIS. It constantly monitors servers, services, and applications, and provides detailed looks at the performance of these assets. It uses an intuitive drill-down navigation menu to look at the assets and the subcomponents that are configured within them. And this makes troubleshooting simple and quick compared to other solutions. But Geocortex Analytics does more than just provide you with a snapshot of your system. It actually captures this same performance data and the usage patterns of your applications over time so that you can assess trends and determine if you need to make adjustments or take other actions to improve your GIS. For example, you can see whether your organization is using an application you just released, or if the performance of a service was poor during a period when your users were complaining about response times. In addition to many out-of-the-box views for your assets, you can set up your own dashboards to quickly assess what matters most to you. These dashboards can be exported, making the task of reporting to your management easier than ever. These exports are in the form of beautiful charts that you don't need a computer science degree to understand. And they'll definitely help you when communicating with upper management. Now, we've been working with our own customers for years and working with our partners' customers. And we have a professional services team as well. And so we've built up considerable experience with understanding the most common issues that affect our customers. And so we have put into Geocortex Analytics many pre-configured alarms, which you can easily set up to alert you when those most common conditions occur. These alerts can be sent to you as emails or text, SMS, and they enable you to deal with problems before they severely impact your organization. You can even customize these alarms to suit your needs or create new ones. Now, let me ask you a question. Does your job require you to ensure services are running 24/7? And do you have any stress associated with keeping your GIS up and running? If either of those answers is yes, it's possible that you've lost sleep starting a service or investigating an issue that is affecting your users. Well, what if you could avoid that at least part of the time? With the latest version of analytics, you can create scripts that you can use to automate the restarting of services and other tasks. And that automation will actually enable those issues to be taken care of before you're even aware of it, so that you can sleep through the night. So instead of waking up in the middle of the night to try to deal with something, imagine instead that you wake up for breakfast with your family and you go into work and you pull up your analytics dashboard and it tells you that in fact there were a couple alarms during the night, a service shut down, but it was immediately restarted and you didn't even know it. All right, so that's a brief introduction to Geocortex Analytics, but I'm sure you want to see the product in action. So I'm going to turn it over to Aaron for an expert demonstration now.
Thanks, Vince. So yeah, I'll start with analytics. I'll just sign in here, and you'll notice it's an ArcGIS identity sign in. This is a standard setup with analytics. We include this utility just so you don't have to go to IT and get them to add a new layer of security. That option is still available if you want, but it's not necessary. You can also leave it completely unsecured if you only have it accessible to a few individuals who you're comfortable with having access. Now, the first page that we see when we sign in is the summary page. On the left here, we have all the current active issues in this environment being monitored. So each of these panels represents an alarm that's been triggered. We have the type of alarm, disk space, or request failures, or response times, whatever they may be. And then the name of the resource, the type of resource, and the parent resource. On some of them, for instance, this is a warning, so it's orange. And you'll also notice that this one doesn't have a parent resource listed because it's an actual server. It's a host server, so it's a top-level resource. But on the right side here, this is a snapshot of the last 48 hours. So we've got all the alarms and all the sessions. Ideally, you have very little color showing up here and a whole lot of green showing down here. This is not bad. Now taking a quick look around the rest of the interface, we have a couple more tabs that we're going to dive into, status and trends. Then in the top right corner up here, we have a link to configuration, a link to sign out, and my dashboards. In analytics, dashboards are about what you'd expect. Collections of panels, charts, and tables that I often want to see together to visualize the important information immediately. This is where that magic happens. For now, let's dig into these other two tabs. Vince mentioned how analytics helps you understand what's happening right now. That's status. Trends is where we can examine changes over time. Let's take a look at the status tab. So now I see a bit of a different look. Over on the left, we have all of the resource categories, and each of these is collapsed. If I open one up, we can see all the resources of that type. I'm going to take a look at a portal. So this is actually any portals or ArcGIS online organizations. Very important piece of analytics is that it can monitor an ArcGIS online organization. There are no other tools out there on the market that do that right now. So this is my ArcGIS online organization, Latitude Geographics. I've got some simple stats up at the top here, just how many user accounts I have in use, the status of my alarms, information on how many credits available, totals of counts. It starts off very simple, summary information. Looking at these alarms, just to give an example of a couple of convenient ones. In this case, if we have less than 10 identities available in our ArcGIS online organization, an alarm will be triggered, and I might receive an email or an SMS text message, or I might get a file sent to me. There's a lot of different options with the ways that we can trigger events from alarms. But the idea here is that if it goes below 10, analytics is going to let me know somehow. If my credits go below 2,000, we are an Esri Platinum partner, as Vince mentioned, so we've got a lot of credits. That's probably not going to be an issue, but just an example of another way that analytics can help you from hitting those points where, you know, it's embarrassing. You don't have enough identities for that new staff member who's available, or you've got an account manager doing something and they don't have enough credits to run a geoprocessing task. Whatever it might be, these alarms will keep you from getting into those sticky situations. I'll do a quick scroll here. There is a ton of information available in analytics. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time today to really dive into all of this. If you are interested, we can always get this stuff to you later, but for now, I just want to do a quick overview. Referenced services, so this is anything that's not hosted in my ArcGIS online organization, but is available. It's linked there. ArcGIS servers, this is a list of all the servers that host these applications or these items that are not actually hosted in my ArcGIS Online. Web map availability is a nice one to figure out how things are shared and as well as what goes into my web maps. So if I select one of these, we can see this capital city demo has 4 connections. If I want to know about those connections, I can just click on it, and down here, we see the 4 connections. We can see that they are online right now. They are feature layers, We can even link out to them if we want to go and get more details about those underlying layers. Item summary is a really nice way to visualize everything in your ArcGIS Online. One nice thing about analytics is that all these charts are dynamic. So as I click through these, the charts repopulate to give me information only on the type that I've selected. So in this case, it's taking this chart and breaking down my 1,147 layers into their types, and then over here, how they're shared. Service items, these are the things that are actually hosted in this ArcGIS Online organization. And users are the identities that are assigned. So in this case, this panel could actually be really useful. If I didn't have a whole lot of identities available, I could come into here and try to free some up. So maybe if I take away this user sorting, and instead I'll sort by last login date. So immediately I see someone who hasn't signed in since 2014. Although they do own a lot of items, it's a service account. I probably want to leave that one. Here is an old account of mine. I didn't even realize this was here anymore. It's analytics proving itself. This account hasn't signed in since 2018, so I could easily clear that one up, get an identity available. Maybe I need to free up an admin identity though. So again, a lot of thoughtful little pieces in analytics for how you can visualize the data. I don't want to see every single role type, only administrators. Oh, sorry, I clicked the wrong button there at the end. Filter. So now I'm only looking at administrators. It's worth noting that pretty much any column you would want to filter in analytics, you're going to have that option. You can also sort by multiple columns. So now that I'm only looking at administrators, let's say I want to see who has the least items. And then coming over into here, I can see there's someone who doesn't have anything. So again, probably one I could clear up. If we had a bunch of people with 0 items, I could come and sort by maps as a secondary sort, or layers as a tertiary sort. You can keep on sorting more and more to really make these panels show exactly the data that you need to see. In this case, there's only 14 items in this list, so it's not terribly complicated. If I took this off, and we have thousands of items here in this one, 1,147. So the sorting and filtering can become really handy when you have a large set of data. User types, just breaking things down so we can see. I see most of my people are publishers. That's good for me. And then groups, information about the groups in my ArcGIS Online organization. So yeah, those are some of my favorite panels on an ArcGIS Online or a portal for ArcGIS. We'd have all this similar sort of data. And it just helps me manage that to make sure that I'm not spending more credits than I need to or wasting money on identities that I don't need to have. Also making sure that all of my services are linked the way that I want, they are shared the way that I want, and then the last piece would be checking my users to see who are the most and the least active. And maybe someone deserves a pat on the back. Maybe someone needs to be talked to because they haven't signed in all year when they say they do. Okay, let's go and take a look at an ArcGIS server next. Another really nice one. I'll avoid these Geocortex things for the most part. They only work for Geocortex customers. So this Esri stuff applies to pretty much anyone who's on this call. Hopefully you're using some sort of ArcGIS software. I'll stay on this side. I will take a peek at the Geocortex stuff for anybody who does already have Essentials or our other software. We can take a look at what's available there, but for now, let's take a look at an ArcGIS server. I might actually come over to the Trends tab as well. You'll notice we now have this time slider on the right with a calendar picker as well for more specific timeframes. And all of our panels are showing data for this given time frame. I'll go to last week just to get a better sampling of data. All these panels repopulate. And the first panel is definitely the most popular. This one right here, when it comes to ArcGIS servers at least, we're looking at all the services, what type of service, the total requests last week, the unique users. Again, all of this is pertaining to last week. Performance, the response times, cumulative time, alarms, errors, and then uptime. A lot of information available. If I click on one of these services, this is where we get a whole lot more detailed info on this service in particular. So if I scroll down here, we can see exactly what type of requests are being sent to this service. We can see how much CPU and memory it's taking on the server to confirm whether or not it's performing at its optimal level. We get a lot of detailed information about all the layers in this service, how they're being used, how it affects performance on the server. Really, really detailed information, more than you can get from any other monitoring product when it comes to ArcGIS service level info. We can use this breadcrumb now to jump back. Now, let me go down to a panel with a chart. Here, service usage. So all the charts in analytics can be adjusted to include more fine-grained information depending on the time frame selected. So here, I'm looking at a week's worth of data. I can refine it down to hourly data points. If I was looking at a larger time frame, a month or a few months, I'd have the option of weekly or daily data points. Now this is just redrawing these, pulling up hourly data points for the whole week. Takes a little bit, but now we can see, yeah, that really fine-grained information about usage across each day. It's kind of what we'd expect during the middle of the night, things get quiet, but it's nice to confirm that. And maybe if I'm trying to justify the cost of my GIS, I can say, you know, it's not just an average level. If you look at the daytime, we have a ton of stuff going on. It's just quiet at night, which lowers the average. Scrolling down, we have, again, a ton of information available. Lots of different stats on usage, performance, heat map of the most popular times of day. We get process usage for CPU and memory, alarms, errors, warnings, and it's all broken down in meaningful ways. So it's easy to filter and sort and adjust these charts to get exactly what I'm after. So let's say I'm a GIS administrator for a mid-sized organization, like 50, maybe 100 users, something like that. I'm new to the organization. And I've been told that, you know, over the years, GIS has been cobbled together. And my first task is to review this entire system. My boss is worried about probably resources and performance first, the actual, you know, CPU and RAM. So let's take a look at these servers. We've got 5 monitored by analytics. If we look at the CPU on this one, for instance, we can see it's 8, 10, 14, 15%, not bad. If we look at the RAM, 32 gigs available, 18, 22, not bad. I'm not really worried about that. Let's take a look at the next one. We can see the CPU is 31, 36, not bad. I'm okay with that one too. Our third server also appears to have a lot more processing power than it needs. This one here as well seems to be fine. This one here, CPU appears to be quite high, 72, 70. And again, let's take a look at where this data is. So this is the average on a given day. If we go to hourly data points, again, we can see these spikes during the day. It's hitting 100% almost every single day. That's going to affect performance for my users. Especially if I go to the max, I can see it's all the time. This CPU is redlined. So I'd have a couple options. These are all virtual machines, which makes it really easy to sorry, I had a alarm going off in the background there. Yeah, so these are virtual machines. So what we could do is reallocate some of these virtual CPU cores from these underutilized servers to this overutilized server. I might even be able to take a couple of these and consolidate them. It looks like these 2 servers are both running pretty low. Maybe we could put them together and cut some costs, save some money. Analytics paying for itself. Another good one would be freeing up ArcGIS identities. So when we were looking at our ArcGIS organization, in that users panel where we saw all of the different users, I could go in there and maybe cut out a few of those users or lower people's roles to free up admin users. We could turn people into creators or viewers, whatever we need. Another good side for the optimization is for applications. So let's say I'm a developer and I'm building up an app. I want to know, as I'm working on it, what sort of errors and warnings and performance issues users are experiencing. Or maybe I still have it in my test environment and I'm having other developers test it. I don't want to have to pull all those developers into a room, take all of their time to report to me what they were doing in the apps, what devices and browsers they were using, what errors and performance issues they saw. So I'm going to get a dashboard. This one here called Damage Assessment and Dependencies. This is for a damage assessment application. And I've put this together for this developer, and they can see what sort of usage their application is getting. They can see whether or not people are new or returning, what IP address ranges they're coming from, because he's interested in knowing what departments are using this app. Service usage, so we can determine what requests are being sent to the geometry service based on this application. CPU, how it's affecting the underlying processor and memory. And then active alarms, sorry, this is actually one that I just added in earlier as a test. So this panel, this dashboard, can serve that developer in troubleshooting their app and making sure that it's getting some utilization, that people are starting to use it. If not, maybe he needs to do a bit of an awareness campaign and let people know that they should be using this wonderful app that he created for damage assessment. The other side of it would be looking at errors and things like that. Like I said, if a developer was still in test mode, I'm going to pick up this web app builder application. And on the trends tab, if I come down here, we can see all of the browsers and devices that people are using. And then we can gauge performance based on that. Again, IP ranges, and then alarms and downtime. So this is where we can start to fine tune the development of this application. I should check with Vince for time. If we have some time, I'd like to quickly take a look at alarms. If not, that's sorry for the teaser.
I think, yeah, it's important to go into alarms.
Great. So a big part of the troubleshooting side of analytics is alarms. So like Vince said, that it will let us know when something is wrong, when something is out of the norm. By default, we include a bunch of alarms that are based on kind of expected, typical behavior, but everyone's environment is different. So we give you the opportunity to customize those. Our best guess for an average environment is that if your CPU went above 80% on a server for 3 consecutive intervals, that's when you'd want to know. So that's because maybe I get a poll from this server and I see that it was above 80%, or analytics sees that it was above 80%. But I know that that happens every once in a while, spikes in the CPU. So I say 3 times, and that way it requires 3 consecutive occurrences of the CPU being over 80% before I get an alarm. And that way I'm not getting false positives. I'm not getting an alarm in an email. I go and sign in and I go and look at that server and it's down around 20, 30%. I need sustained usage for 3 15-minute intervals above 80% to trigger this alarm. Now, maybe 80% is fine. Maybe I need 90% to be worried about what's going on in my environment. But maybe there are very rarely spikes. So I can come down and say if it's ever above 90%, even once, fire an alarm. Really easy to configure what these alarms do. I'll have it send an email to me and send an SMS to Drew. Those users that I selected can be added up here. It's really as simple as typing in a name and an email. You can put in a phone number if you like, and then you say whether you want them to receive all email, all SMS. If you don't check those, then you assign them to each individual alarm like we just did. Now, one other thing I want to show about alarms, we recently introduced this, running batch scripts. So this is that middle of the night problem that Vince was talking about. I've been in IT support before. I've been the guy who gets those messages in the middle of the night. It's not fun to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, sign into a computer and start troubleshooting what might have gone wrong. Or even worse, wake up just to restart a server when a batch script could have done it for you. So here I've got a couple configured. These just get added to a folder on the analytics server. As soon as they're dropped there, they automatically show up in this list. This is just a simple two-liner to restart an application. This one uses some variables that come with an analytics alarm to write to an additional log file so that we can track every alarm that ever occurred in analytics. If you're familiar with batch scripts, you know there's a ton of power. With curl included, you can do pretty much anything you want. So you can really get into some major automation here and pretty much have a self-sustaining system with some batch scripts and well-curated alarms. So I think that gives a pretty good overview of alarms. Again, we could dive into a bunch more. If you are interested, let the guys at Gistec know. They'll be happy to show you more. But for now, I'm going to throw back to Vince so that we can take a look at one of our newest products, Access Control.
All right, let's move on to Geocortex Access Control, which is a standalone web-based product that provides fine-grained permissions for ArcGIS services. This granularity includes layers, fields, features, and geometries. The web-based designer makes it intuitive to view and control access levels, and that saves you time and money versus traditional ways of securing your ArcGIS assets. So these are 3 value statements about access control, and the story that they tell is that when managing security, you can go beyond what is possible with Esri technology without paying a lot to create custom code. And you can do so in a manner that is simple and straightforward. These 3 statements speak directly to the pain of what many of you may feel, especially as we saw in the survey, and why this product may be valuable to you. So Access Control provides a web client for the design and maintenance of permissions. This is where the intuitive value comes from, and it's something that we'll dive deeper into in a few minutes. This image gives you a preview of the modern-looking interface. Access Control allows you to easily set permissions for layers, features, and fields. You can do so by user or group. And in our July release, you're also going to be able to do so using geometry filtering, meaning you'll be able to set permissions by areas on the map. Access Control is securing permissions at the source, and by that I mean the REST endpoint of the services. This means that any application hitting those REST endpoints will be forced to obey those permissions. For you, this means that you configure the permissions once, not multiple times, if you have multiple applications. One of the common problems that organizations face is the need to build different applications to expose different aspects of the same services to different users. So say, for example, you're looking at a municipal or a city plan, and you want one user to see the property value of a parcel, and you want another user to see the parcel and perhaps some of the architectural specifications, but you don't want them to see the property value. In the past or currently, you might have to build 2 different applications using out-of-the-box Esri authentication. But with Access Control, you can build just one. And I'm just talking about a case here where you might have 2 applications, but what if you have 5 different users and 5 different roles, and you have to build 5 different applications? Again, with Access Control, you can build just one and modify the permissions so these users only see what you want them to see. This saves you time building the apps, modifying the services, and it saves further time because you don't have to adjust each application when you change your services. All right, so once again, let's move to a demo and see some of this in action.
So just like analytics, we have this ArcGIS identity sign-in. Same idea. It's part of the standard setup. You just enter the URL for your portal or ArcGIS online organization and walks you through your first sign-in. And then you control who has access from an item that will live in your portal or ArcGIS online. So I'm signed in. This is where we start. On the left, I've got this help button. It gives me a few links to key sections, as well as a link to the community where I can ask questions, share ideas, get updates from Geocortex and other users. Lots of good stuff in there. Down here, I can see I'm signed in with technical sales. I can sign out. So this instance of access control, it's very important to know that it lives on a server in my environment. It does need to be on premises, and it needs to be installed on the same server as my ArcGIS server, or my web adapter actually. If my web adapter and my server are on separate servers, access control lives with the web adapter. The installation is really simple. It's just a wizard, like next, 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 finish. And then the post install, you enter some details about your ArcGIS server URL, portal URL, really quick. I'd say 10 minutes the first time you do it. After you've done it once, 3 or 4 minutes to do another one. Anyways, all we have here is a couple servers, or the web adapters actually. I'm going to pick this second one. And now we see the root of the REST endpoint. If I click the More button here, I can open the ArcGIS REST Services directory. And in a new tab, I can see exactly where I am. After logging in, I can see an extra folder. I can see the service. Now, if I select one of these folders, I can come in here and see what's there. Access control is mapping out that REST endpoint directly. So whatever's over here, if I published another service, the instant it's available here, it will show up in access control as well. If I select one of these services, the next column populates with all the layers that are included in that service. Again, we have the option to go to the REST endpoint directly from any level, but now we also have the option to remove all permissions from this service. And that includes any downstream permissions, anything at the layer, field, or feature level. Let's go downstream and take a look. If I select this service requests layer, the next column gives me the option to add security to this layer. Before I add any permissions though, let's go take a look at this data on a map. So this is the web map living in ArcGIS Online. And a web app builder application hosting this app. Very simple one, but if we zoom in and turn on all the layers, I can see that we currently have access to everything. So let's go back to access control and give it a try. We'll click the add button, and I'm asked what user or group I want to assign permissions to. Let's start simple. We'll just apply this to all users. And it's worth noting actually that access control has some built-in groups. All users, I just bring this back to all users, anonymous users, and authenticated users. Pretty self-explanatory, but these are built-in groups that come with access control to simplify the bulk management of your users. And then you just apply fine-grained permissions for the exceptions. Anyways, let's do this for all users. And let's say denied. We'll save that and go back to this application. No, okay. So I have turned off the service requests layer to all users. It's denied. I still see it here right now. These purple circles are service requests. The green one's up here as well. If I just zoom out and zoom in, all the service requests are gone. So that quickly, I didn't even have to refresh the browser. I didn't have to sign out and sign back in. Changes made in access control are live, real time. They take effect right away. So when you publish a service, Maybe you'd usually have to wait a couple days to figure out security or to get the IT person to handle that work order to insert the security. With Access Control, you just do it on yourself. Right away, you have this service ready to be used in applications. Also worth noting, I could open this up in a Geocortex application. I could open it up in an ArcGIS online map viewer. I could open it up in a dashboard, in an experience builder application, in a custom JavaScript application. It doesn't matter where I'm calling the data from. Access Control filters the data right at the ArcGIS server level. It's the most true security that you can get. Nothing ever leaves your environment. So let's come back and do a couple other things. Let us clear this one out. We'll save again. Then let's go a bit deeper. Let's add some permissions at the field level. So now I can see all of the attribute fields in this layer, and I can assign permissions for each field. For instance, maybe I don't want phone and email to be visible to the public. That's private information, and this is a public app. So I'll add a permission for phone, all users, denied. Email to. These are service requests. It includes a field workers, phone and email. We don't want that information available. So I've denied both of those. I'm going to save that. And if we come back to this application, and then I'm going to zoom out and in so that we can now see the service requests again, because I have removed that deny privilege, the deny permission. But if I select one of these, I don't get phone or email. Perfect. There's a catch though. My dispatcher maybe does need to see phone and email. The person who's assigning these needs to see that. So I have a tool in this app to find out who I'm signed in as. It should be site admin, I think. Yeah. So let's say site admin is our dispatcher. Let's go back to Access Control and configure some access for them. I'm going to select phone. I'll click the add button. Switch this over to user and go site admin. Site admin can see phone. I'll save that. I'll come back to here. I'll select another, sorry, I think I'll need to go out and in. And now I can see the phone. If I come back to here, do the same for email. Visible, come back here, zoom out and in, and select a different service request. Now I have phone and email available. So just a couple of quick ways that we can go from filtering things for all users to filtering certain fields and then making certain those fields available to certain users. Obviously, you can get really, really fine-grained here. I don't have enough time to show much more. I might try to show one more cool thing. Let's go to the layer level here. Back up to here, this service requests layer. We can also assign permissions based on attribute filters. So this limits access to features based on their attributes. So for instance, maybe that site admin, let's do unassigned requests. I think it's just going to pick one of these. So status, unassigned, that looks good. So we'll do this for all users again. Group, all users. And status equals unassigned. I'll save that. So now all users should only be able to see service requests that are unassigned. If I zoom out, now, sorry, we are only seeing the purple service requests. Those are the ones that are unassigned. If I come back over here and remove that, do a quick close and zoom out and in, now we see all those other service requests. So that's a few ways that we can do those things. We also have expressions under advanced permissions. So with these, you can actually use some JavaScript variables. I'm not a developer, so I'm not going to dive too deep here. But the idea is that you'd be able to create some sweeping permissions across certain user types or roles, or maybe calling out to external security things. So maybe all of your user permissions are stored in an asset management system or somewhere else, and you need to tap into those, you want to do rules based on those. So with a JavaScript expression, you can go out to that, call back the data, and use that to decide who has permissions for what. I'll just show you how it's kind of all dot notation. It dives in, gives me all this. I'm not a developer, so I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I just think it's important to show that there is this kind of intuitive, it guides you through it. If I was a little bit better, I'd be able to actually make use of these. Anyways, we have only got 5 minutes left. I think I've showed everything cool in access control. Vince, remind me if there's anything that you think is worth showing that I haven't shown here, but I think that's a pretty good spread.
No, I think that's good. Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, I'll throw back to Vince. I think we're probably wrapping up and going to questions here. I'm going to answer this last question in the Q&A, but I hope everyone enjoyed the demos.
That'd be great. So just to give you an idea of some of the additional resources that you have available to you, we would always encourage you to visit our website, geocortex.com, where you'll find additional information on Geocortex Analytics and Access Control. In addition, we have many YouTube videos about Geocortex technology. And if you have not lately visited the Doc Center, it is a fantastic resource for answering many of your questions, whether they be related to product functionality or potentially issues that you're facing in your implementations. I know many of you are Geocortex Essentials customers, and you can find a lot of information there. And of course, as always, you can email questions to your account managers at Gistec or info@gistec.com. Now, before we move to questions, I would really like to announce a special deal to you, and that is what we call the admin bundle. So the admin bundle is the two products that we have shown you today, Geocortex Analytics and Geocortex Access Control. And there's a deal. So you can buy one and get the second one for 50% off, or you can buy both for 25% off. So here's a quiz. Which one of these is actually a better deal, A or B? Well, the answer is whichever one sounds better to your procurement division. So we encourage you to reach out to Gistec to find out more about that deal if what you've seen today has been interesting to you. At this point, I am going to go ahead and move into the questions. So I think if you have any specific questions, we can answer them now. Aaron, maybe you've seen some in the chat that you want to go ahead and deal with in more depth.
Yeah, why not? Bhaskar, you had asked about seeing Geocortex Essentials in Analytics. We've only got a couple minutes, so there won't really be time. But yeah, basically you get all the same sort of monitoring that you'd get for a web app builder application. All that, what device, what browser, how long people stayed in, if they were signed in. Then you also get information about the tools that they used, which workflows they ran, which layers they turned off and on, what security method they used to sign in, if you have different ones available. There's a lot of very, very detailed information when it comes to the Geocortex side of things. And that's basically because we wrote analytics and we wrote Essentials. We know how to make them talk and make Essentials really share a lot of information. On the Esri side, we deal with what's available in the API.
Aaron, do you know much about the roadmap? Like, I understand that the database support is coming in the next version. Maybe you can speak to the scope of that. I don't know that it's
so we are actually
database,
yeah, we're looking for feedback on that actually. The 1.7 release coming out in late summer will include database monitoring, but it's sort of the first round. We are putting it out there for people to let us know what they think of it and how they want it customized. We had some trouble getting that feedback in the early days. Everybody said they wanted database monitoring, but not really sure how deep people wanted us to go. So we've kind of done a minimum viable product. We've released this database monitoring functionality, and it can be customized. Well, it will be able to be customized so that you can take it a bit further, but then we'll be looking for feedback for people to tell us what sort of default options they would want included. and we'll be including those as we go forward into new releases. Looking forward at other new features and developments, we're looking at a 2.0 release some point. I don't want to say any timelines, but there are a lot of things on the table. One is going possibly to the cloud so that people don't need to install this on premise, and that would enable monitoring of high availability Esri cloud solutions a little bit easier. And then, yeah, other than that, I don't want to speak too much about the 2.0 because it is up in the air. If anyone thinks of anything that they want to see in analytics, please let us know. Our R&D team, the research and development, the product developers, they're very open to suggestions. So the more you give to us, the more we can steer our products to match your needs.
Great. Aaron, maybe you can take a look at the questions
here
while I answer. There's one that's come in. Can we use Geocortex in the research domain? I mean, the basic answer is yes. You know, Geocortex technology is not vertically specific, except in one case with our Geocortex inline product. So it really depends what you want to do. What I would say is that, you know, Geocortex technology is fantastic for enhancing what you do with your Esri GIS, for visualization of data, for automating any business processes that you have. So if you have business processes where you need to do research by interacting with the map and then reaching out to a database to pull something back, and then acting upon that, then, you know, the answer is yes. You know, we could certainly help in the research domain, but what I would encourage you to do is go ahead and reach out to Gistec with your specific needs, and we can set something up. Yeah, maybe Aaron, you can handle the rest of these.
Yeah, I was typing an answer to Ranim regarding databases. Yes, exactly. SQL, Oracle, anything you can access with a connection string, anything that works on SQL language, very, very open, not geodatabase only. Just going to dismiss that one. Servers, looks like that's part of the same question. So yes, we do monitor the servers and SQL, Microsoft SQL, Postgres SQL, Oracle. We'll be monitoring basically anything that can accept a connection string, and then you can design some queries to send to it. Access control, more like handling portal security. So access control is very targeted. It is meant to secure your ArcGIS server services. It provides fine-grained security that you can't get with the out-of-the-box tools, and it does it a lot simpler than if you were to create a custom solution using what Esri calls service object interceptors. We took a look at it, even with experienced people who have worked with them in the past. It takes hours and hours to secure a single service, whereas with access control, you saw how fast I can do it. So that's the real value of access control. Right now, it's, like I said, it's targeted. It's not doing Geocortex tools. It's not managing permissions on your ArcGIS online resources. It's filling a very specific need that we've just heard so many people demand. So that's where it starts. It is only 2 months old, so keep an eye on the release notes. We will be adding more functionality as time goes on. And yeah, again, same thing as with our other products. If you have suggestions, let us know what you'd like to see it do. We're always keen to build the product to match what people want. And analytics is independent or dependent on essentials. Yes, so analytics, the value of it is largely on the Esri side. Like, you don't need to be running Geocortex to have analytics be really, really helpful for you. You put it on any server that you like. It doesn't need to be beside anything. We actually recommend for it to be on its own server for performance sake. But if you do want to install it alongside your ArcGIS server or portal, that's fine.
But the bottom line is, the answer to your question is it's independent. It's completely independent of essentials.
Yes, yeah, that's the short answer.
Okay, it looks like we're done with those questions. Thank you very much. A lot of great questions. Again, please reach out to us. We're happy to answer any other questions that you have. Here's my email and Aaron's email. And I know that Gistec is ready and waiting for any questions that you have if you want to dive further into this. And this video, once again, will be available live on YouTube, as I understand it. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time tonight. I wish you all a pleasant remainder of your evening, and we'll be talking to you again soon. Take care, everyone. Thank you.